boats, a lake, mountains, sunshine. What's not to like? So I'm back in North Wales, and in fact I made a film just up round the corner there, and I'll post the link. But after I made that film, I decided to come back down through the valley and head in this direction. So the road kind of runs down the side through the valley and along here, and the road is just where those where that wall is, and I drove past and I thought I must come back in the summer when there's going to be some nice light. So I came back, and I apologise in advance because this is one of those hard to pronounce Welsh names, but this is Llyn Nantlle Igaf. How did I do? Llyn Nantlle Igaf. Might be getting that wrong, Igaf. It might be Ishaf. So anyway, you can see the set. If you're a little bit interested in photography, you can see the setup I'm doing. These boats pointing lovely into the valley, and Snowdon in the distance with a bit of cloud on the top. But I've just come across an issue that I'll try and show you. I'll put my shadow over the camera and I'll try and show you. So the boats are nicely illuminated, and actually it's providing a nice bit of contrast with the clouds in the distance. But these white posts are quite dominant in terms of the colour, and the problem I'm having, I'll zoom in and show you. See this post here? It's intersecting absolutely with the top of the lake, and I don't like it. So my problem being that it makes that look as if the post is touching. There's quite nicely illuminated reeds over in the corner, so I need to get some separation. So to get that separation, I'm going to have to put my camera up a bit higher. So bear with me because I'll need two hands to do this. So keep looking at me. I put the camera up. I'm just opening up the centre column, and I'll tighten that up. So it's a bit high for me to see now, but again I'll use my hat. Can you see now there's a gap between the posts and the edge of the lake? Hopefully you can see that. That's a much better composition than what I had previously. Sorry about the messing around. I have to take my hat off then to put some shadow. So I'm going to take that image now. Just bear with me a second while I take the image, and I'll try and show you. I'm going to. This is a bit. I could do it being 6'6" tall, but this is the image. There's a bit of gap between the lake, the lake edge and the top of the post, and then the previous image there isn't. So got to get that separation with the top of the post. Hopefully that makes sense. When I'm stood here, kind of, this is at eye level. There's a separation, but if I move down a bit, which the camera was, there wasn't any separation. Got to get that separation, otherwise the composition looks really weird. Hopefully you'll see. I'll post the image with and without the separation, and you'll see how it changes the composition. But it's beautiful conditions, and the clouds are moving, so I'm hoping get some light shining. This sort of light that's shining here at the moment, hoping get some of that shining down on Snowdon. I should say I've got my polarizer in just to take some of the sheen and the glare off the water, and then I've got my ND8 graduated filter just to take some of the brightness out of the clouds and get a nice balance. But these boats, as I say, the light shining on those nicely, and I think it creates a nice contrast. But I'm going to do a bit more here, and then I'm going to just have a bit of a wander around the edge of the lake. I was just going to have a quick word about composition. One of the nice things is there's 3 boats. So I've mentioned in previous films, it's always good. We talk about the rule of thirds in composition, but the rule of threes or the rule of odds also applies. So it's always nice when there's an odd number. Don't know why, something to do with psychology of the way we see things. We prefer to see odd numbers of things. So it's nice that there's 3 boats. But as you can see, they're pointing almost directly at Snowdon, and there's a few different kind of opportunities. You could come kind of about here, but if you look at the prow, this boat in the near ground is pointing towards Snowdon, but it actually points to the back of the boat on the left, and then that boat points over in that direction. Hopefully you can see that. So you've got a line going to the back of that boat, and then that boat points that way. And of course you've got the post, which is a bit of a distraction. And then the boat on the right is also pointing in that direction. So if I was to take an image here, unfortunately, the boats kind of take the eye away from Snowdon, and there's a nice bit of cloud on Snowdon at the moment. So personally, unless the boats were pointing further around, and they might shift in the wind, I think they're taking the eye away from the valley and Snowdon in the distance. So just keep your eye on the boats as we move. And what you see is, when you get to about here, the back of that boat starts a journey along to the end of the boat. And now, because I'm here, that post is kind of taken out of consideration, because the bows of the boats go beyond that post, so it's not the end of the line, as it were. And then the boats are pointing more towards Snowdon from this angle, so I'm actually a little bit further around with the camera. So, but hopefully you get that. The line is now more direct towards Snowdon, and actually the far post, is pointing nicely to the edge of kind of this mountain whose name escapes me for the moment, but I'll try and remind myself. But hopefully that makes sense. I'm going to take that image. Might wait a little while I was going to say snow then, while the cloud clears a little bit off the top of Snowdon. But hopefully just kind of that, how many steps are we away? Maybe 10 steps. Makes quite a bit of difference in the composition. Just waiting for some of the cloud to either move off Snowdon or get some nice colour on it. And at the moment it's kind of whitish grey, but I'm hoping as the sun gets a little bit lower, it'll turn a creamy colour. I don't mind if it doesn't move off Snowdon, but if it goes creamy, that'll be nice. But just a quick tip, be very quick. When you're looking at images like this, so I'm getting nice reflection at the moment because the wind's dropped a little bit, so it's nice reflection in the foreground. But a quick tip when you're working on those type of images is when you're looking at the screen. So I'll brighten that a bit, and I've just got the two boats in now, so that other boat's now in shadow. So I'm just looking at those two boats were still in colour. A couple of quick tips when you're looking at the composition. So that's about where I'm going, but if you can get distracted by looking at the detail. So something I'll do fairly regularly is go just turn your focus ring and go completely out of focus, so you're not looking at any of the detail, but you're just looking at the shapes, and that can help you with the composition, because I'm not looking at the fine detail. I'm just seeing, does the shape work? Does it give a nice kind of reflection? And obviously when you're going to take the shot, you just I happen to be focused on the boats over here, obviously get back in focus. But it's a nice way of clearing any distractions, and just looking at the shapes to see if it's if it's a nice mirror image and it's working well. Just give it a try when you're out and about. Just give it a try and see what you think. These boats are going to go completely in shade any second, because the sun is heading down quickly. Once they're in shade, I think they're no use to me anymore. Sometimes things happen that's just kind of pure dumb luck. So there's kind of a natural vignetting going on at the moment. So you see this kind of big cloud that's kind of curved across the valley, and what that is leaving is a kind of a natural kind of almost a frame for the scene. So nothing to do with my kind of abilities or as a photographer or skill. It's just absolute pure luck. and I think it's kind of creating a kind of a natural vignette. So yeah, one of those. If you hang around long enough, eventually something happens. What has happened now, though? Oh, a bit of driftwood coming. Bank of cloud has come up on the horizon, so the sun is now down behind that cloud, and obviously the sun's going lower down and the cloud's coming up. So I don't think it's going to get any brighter on Snowdon. In a couple of minutes, when the sun and the cloud meet each other, Snowdon's going to go into shade. So I can't tell whether that's mist or cloud, mist or smoke. What I might do is, when Snowdon goes into shade, I might stick my X stopper in, which is a 10-stop filter, and just have a bit of a play, see if I can kind of get anything happening. All the light, all the direct light is more or less gone. We've got this lovely blue kind of evening light now, the blue hour. I don't think the sun's technically down yet, but it's behind a bank of clouds, so it's good as. It's going a little bit misty, so I'm losing a little bit of definition. But I thought I'd just run through the process of using the X stopper. It's a 84.5 X stopper, it's their version, but you get other versions: big stopper, super stopper, hopper stopper, lopper plopper, I don't know. So just run you through the process. So without the filter or anything in, set your image up. So I've got my composition, I've got the boats over here, nice bit of cloud in the sky, all set up. I happen to be on f18, and really important is where to take your exposure reading from. Now, if you take your exposure, so the darkest piece in this image would be the mountain. If I took my exposure reading off the mountain, the sky would probably be quite blown out. But if I took my exposure reading off the sky, the mountain would probably stay a little bit too dark. So you look for something that's about mid-tone. So I reckon this water in the foreground here is about mid-tone. So it's kind of halfway between the mountain and the sky. So you know, this isn't an exact science, but I reckon about there, and that gives me 1/8 of a second exposure. So what do I need to do now? Need to just switch across to bulb mode. Check I'm on f18, because that was what I was on. Going to need to just bear with me because it's a bit of fiddly. Got my filter, so drop my X stopper. Sorry, you can look at me while I drop the X stopper in, and that is in. So you can see it goes kind of incredibly dark. Then don't forget your doohickey. So the doohickey is that little rubber thing that came with your camera that fits over the viewfinder. And then need to get my trusty app out, which will tell me that it's 1/8 of a second, the exposure is 2 minutes. So just bear with me, because I really need 3 hands for this. So I've put my shutter release on, because what you don't want to do is press the shutter and waggle your camera. So I've got my shutter release. I'm going to start my 2-minute timer, start, press and hold the shutter. So I basically just now need to wait for 2 minutes, and I'm keeping the shutter held down. There are some shutter release. In fact, I've got one on my intervalometer, which you don't need to keep it pressed down, because you press it and it locks. But this one, I actually think really works really well. And it's not that much hassle, just keeping your finger pressed on the button. So bear with me. There's 1.5 minutes to go. So I'll probably fast forward over this bit to get to the end. So the timer's about to go off. Timer's gone off. Release the shutter, and bear with me again just while I put my phone in my pocket. Sorry if the camera's a bit jiggly. So now let's have a look how that turned out. Well, actually, I think it turned out not too bad. There's a nice bit of movement in the cloud, which we'll also see in the foreground, and it's completely smooth out the water. So not bad at all, not bad at all. would it be nice if there was a bit more movement in the clouds. So what I might do is go for a longer, so I'll go up maybe to, I was on f18 then, wasn't I? So maybe go F20, f22, so get a longer shutter speed, maybe get a bit more movement in the clouds. Don't forget, if you're using live view, you don't need to worry about mirror lockup. Kind of mirror lockup or if you're mirrorless, you don't need to worry about mirror lockup. But if you're using a DSLR, obviously when you press your shutter, the mirror springs up. Not if you're using, and it can vibrate the camera and put some movement into your image. If you're using live view, your mirror's already up, so you don't need to worry about it. Gonna have a couple more goes. Sun is definitely down, all done. Took a few more images. There was a little bit of pink, tiny hint of pink in the clouds just before the sun went down, proper down. It's about 9:10 now, and the midges are out. But I heard my first cuckoo over the year. Cuckoo down there, somewhere in the valley, calling. So it's lovely to hear that. And yeah, took a few final images with the boats and messed around with the X-stopper a bit. So hopefully they turn out nice. Hopefully this vlog has kept you entertained and inspired, educated, whatever that might be. Midges. And look forward to reading your comments. Don't forget to click the button down there to subscribe and then the bell so you get notifications. And I'll see you next time. Bye.